Everybody, welcome back into Bayou Time. Harry McCullough here. We got a nice chance to talk to the superintendent of Terrebonne Parish Schools. Mr. Philip Martin is here. A lot of stuff going on, so we'll do a couple of segments, and we'll start off with some good things as Students of the Year. Always a great way to recognize some of your top performers.
Yeah, Harry, thank you for having me, and obviously any chance I get to talk about our kids, we want to do that. So many times with our youngsters, we hear the negative things, and unfortunately sometimes we let that shape our minds and opinions of all our teenagers.
This generation, right?
Yeah, this generation. When the reality of it is,
right.
They're wonderful, wonderful kids, and we have some who need redirection. There's no question,
Sure.
but there's some marvelous students in our schools, and all our schools in Terrebonne Parish, public and parochial, that our community should be proud of.
Sure.
And they're doing wonderful, wonderful things, and it's a pleasure for us to teach kids that are the caliber that we have. This year, I think it's the second year in a row, I'm not certain, I don't remember, but the Teenager of the Year, senior from Terrebonne High School, and that's the Teenager of the Year has been done for probably 50 years, I suppose.
Right.
I know it's been done a long, long time. It's a very, very prestigious award, and has always gone to a very, very deserving teenager, and it can be a boy or girl. This year it was a Terrebonne High senior, Evan Blanchard. He was selected as the Teenager of the Year for Terrebonne Parish. And of course, Terrebonne High is proud of him, and we're proud of him. He's one of our kids.
Sure.
And it's quite an honor and a distinction for him and his family. As parents, I know how proud I would be, and I know his parents were as well. So we want to congratulate Evan and all the kids that were nominated. Every high school in the parish nominates 4 kids, so it's a pretty large pool. And picking one out of that is a very difficult task. I'm glad I've never had to been on that picking side of it.
So let's talk about that. So each high school gets to nominate 4, and then it's a committee made up of the VFW.
Yeah, it's a wide-ranging, very diverse committee that, and they don't know the kids. They don't know who they are, and it's a very difficult task because anyone would be deserving of being Teenager of the Year. But so I'm sure that's a very challenging thing to figure out. Well, which one of these is the one?
Right. Of all of these. And then there's a lot of volunteer opportunities, right? Where we've been through the last couple of years,
yes.
And especially kids, and tough times through COVID and then Ida, to be able to do all of that, where you can do some community service,
right.
You continue obviously with your grades and studies. I'm sure that all goes into
those are all factors that are looked at. Citizenship. Obviously scholarship, grades, community service, all those things that make you a good citizen.
Right.
And like I said, it's just a shame only one can be picked, but we're certainly proud of Evan.
So it's Evan, and he was also Teenager of the Year, and now he's a Student of the Year.
No, that's
I'm sorry.
He's the Teenager of the Year for Terrebonne Parish.
I got you. Okay.
Actually, Terrebonne High's Student of the Year, which I was going to.
I got you.
I'll get to that in a minute. Two different categories, both very prestigious. But the Teenager of the Year is not specific to public schools. It can be from any school.
I got you. And
and
all of the schools.
All the schools, all the high schools in Terrebonne Parish, and they all participate. And there's a very nice banquet, and it's very very well attended, and it's really neat thing for recognizing our kids. As we said at the beginning of the conversations, oftentimes we get too focused on the negative and forget all the wonderful kids that live in our community.
Yeah, I think we do that in society as a whole. Right?
Unfortunately, that's true. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's true.
We just look right past all the good things that are happening and concentrate on some of the bad. So let's talk about the students, though. Same kind of thing. So elementary, middle and high school.
Yep.
Each school puts a student.
Each school has their own Student of the Year, which is a very distinct privilege, being the Student of the Year for any school.
Right.
But all of those Students of the Year, there's one that's picked that represents Terrebonne Parish Public Schools Student of the Year, the elementary, middle school, and high school level. This year, the Student of the Year for elementary was from Lisa Park. It's Riley Richard. And I will share a little bit of a story on that. The principal of the school is her mom.
Oh, okay.
The mom had said, I'm going to disqualify her, I'm not going to let her. And we said, you had nothing to do with the selection. Right. Your child should not be rewarded or recognized simply because you're the principal. So, but Riley is, and like I said, all of these kids are just spectacularly impressive young people that just being around them makes you feel good. Houma Junior High School, that's the middle school kid. Kate Henning was the Student of the Year for middle school for representing, now this represents Terrebonne Parish Public Schools.
Right, sure.
This is not every school.
Right.
The Teenager of the Year was across the parish.
Sure.
And Terrebonne High, the high school Student of the Year is Justin Dufresne.
Oh, okay.
So we have 4 superb examples of teenagers in Terrebonne Parish, and there are many like them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
There are many like them. At every school has them, public, private, has just enlightening, refreshing, makes you feel good to know them.
Good citizens, good students, and great futures.
And you know, oftentimes they take the high road, and many times that's the most difficult road because it's the road least traveled. They don't necessarily follow what everybody's doing.
Right. I know.
So we're very, very proud of them, and it's quite an accomplishment.
It's been a heck of a run, right? It's been a heck of a school year, right? When
to say the least.
August 29th, right when you start schools, we get unwanted visitor that came in. And so now whatever plans you had coming into this year were you had damage to every school, I'm sure. And some of them, they're still not operating, although you got kids in school, in all the schools, right?
Yeah, Harry, that's right. Certainly Ida was an unwelcome visitor, and Terrebonne Parish was the bullseye. I'm certain that we sustained, as a school system anyway, more than anybody else did.
Sure.
As you pointed out just now, every school except one had damage. Gibson did not. The furthest west and north,
Yeah.
It did not. And every school had varying levels of damage. They were not all the same. And there's been a lot of focus on 4, Grand Kaya Elementary, Upper Lokaya, ST, and Ellender. They have profound damage. But we sometimes forget Evergreen has a wing that we still can't use. Mulberry has a wing that we still can't use. Berg has a whole building that we still can't use. So every school has damage, some very profound where the school can't even be used. And we're using all schools with Band-Aids. We have more temporary roofs. It's easier to name the schools that don't have a temporary roof,
right?
Than it's easier if we just name those,
right?
And it's a frustrating thing to the school system and to our kids and parents. The repair of a school is something easily said, but when you get right down to it, when you've got to follow FEMA guidelines, procurement, and look, we had to borrow $200 million.
Right.
And we are going to do exactly what FEMA says to do, because if you don't,
right,
we'll never get out that financial hole of $200 million.
Right.
So that is we can't take any chances that, oh, the heck with it, just do it. That can't happen. And I wish it was easy enough. We've been meeting with architects and engineers and environmentalists. I wish it would be safe South Terrebonne. Just tell a construction company, go fix it.
Just fix it and let us know what
But it doesn't work that way.
Every step of the way, you got to.
Well, right now we have architects who they have to specify the scope of the work, where everything has to be captured. They have to write specs, so that a construction company say, well, what am I bidding on?
Right.
It has to be very detailed, down to floor tile, which ones will be removed, which ones won't, which walls. It's a very laborious, precise, but important step.
Right.
The planning is probably more important than the actual building when it starts. That's probably the easiest part.
Right.
Everything that has to happen before that is very time consuming and very frustrating. We will be starting tomorrow at Ellender and South Terrebonne with the site preparation for the temporary campuses that are there. The construction company that won the bid is going to have dirt moving equipment and start preparing those two sites for the temporary campuses. But every project requires the same thing. And we had to, before we could even get to that, we had to hire project managers. And it's not like you just go out and say, you're hired, you're hired.
Right.
We can't do it that way.
Right.
You know, we have to accept RFPs, we have to accept proposals. The procurement method, if it's not followed, we're not eligible for reimbursement.
Right.
And as I mentioned earlier, what entity can afford $200 million?
No, you can't.
No one
No
can.
way. No.
You know, so we have to do that so we know that we'll be reimbursed. And I get that it's frustrating. And you know, I see people that my son is still living in a camper on the driveway.
Right.
You know, finding workers, finding construction companies. We have difficult time finding some of the most simple things like
Workers.
ceiling tiles.
Right.
You know, the white thing, you can't get them.
Right.
You know, there's
Because everybody else is trying to get them. Right.
and some of it's connected, I think, just to the storm. I think some of it's just connected to the national shortage of everything.
Right. Supply chain.
I couldn't buy Fritos the other day. Stores didn't have Fritos. I'm like, you kidding me?
No, talking to Jared, speaking of sons, but he was saying it's like a whole new job, right? It's like we'd love to just educate children.
Oh, that would be so nice if we could just do that. But you know, managing all these construction projects and doing it in a manner that it's going to be done right, and it's going to be done in a manner that we can get reimbursed for, is a very laborious, a very complex.
How long will those schools share campuses? Do you have any prediction of when we might be back at South Terrebonne?
Well, we're platooning right now.
Right. But
Next year they'll be on their own campus.
they'll be back in their campus. Okay.
And Ellen will be back on.
That's the August of next year is what
Yeah.
James
Now
told me.
that will be on the temporary campuses.
Right.
It's I think each one was $14 million for each campus.
Wow.
You know, to install modular buildings, they call them. It's a
Right.
company named Vesta, VESTA, that won the bid for that. Again, all of that had to be. We had to have an architect and
Oh, I
engineer
know.
design.
Oh, yeah.
We just can't call up Vesta and say, send us 75 classrooms. I wish it were that easy.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
It
Oh, yeah.
doesn't work that way, unfortunately.
Right. And then, you know, who knows what's going to happen again. So let's talk of some good news. So, boy, we've been through a lot, right? 2 years of COVID, right into the worst hurricane probably to ever hit this area. And our students, you know, trying to educate kids throughout all of this. And you guys did a great job getting people back in the classrooms and doing that. But now you're starting to see some benefits of the extra work that you guys did, because when you look at your achievement scores, we're doing pretty good compared to the rest of the state.
Yeah, Harry, that's true, and I attribute that again to our kids and our teachers and our parents who support their kids in school. It was very interesting. You know, we've been dealing with COVID, and we took a little different tack than most districts with COVID, not because we had a better idea, but because we could. We didn't do any A/B schedule. We didn't do any, you know, widespread virtual. Many districts had no choice because last year there was capacity issues. You couldn't have more than these kids in a room and more than these number of kids on a bus. Well, that wasn't a problem for us because our classes were small to begin with. So we had just regular school. You know, we didn't do A/B schedules, and I'm not criticizing districts that did A/B schedule. They didn't want to. They had to divide their kids in half, and half were on virtual one day, and the other day the other half would go to school because they couldn't put them all in the building. They'd be violating capacity issues. That was very common across the state. They did it because they had to. We didn't. We maintained a normal school. And when the test results came out, they were very revealing, not only for Terrebonne Parish, but for across the state. It demonstrated several things. The test scores for those kids who were in-person instruction were statistically way different than the test scores for those kids who were not in a full-time person-to-person, either through AB or virtual. There was a huge data gap, a huge gap in performance, i.e., and I don't think it should surprise anybody, right, the in-person outperformed the virtual dramatically. We had some kids virtual, not a whole school system, just some kids. Their results for Terrebonne Parish was dramatically different than in person. In person, traditional, whatever term you want to use. It was regular school. When we got and you know, our kids have to take LEAP tests and all kind of tests, state tests. Right. Every kid does. That's not just every kid in Louisiana. It's not unique to Terrebonne Parish. Sure. And you know, we wait for those results with holding our breath, because we're all kind of judged. Sure. Well, you know, is a good school system, not a good school system, bad, good, you know, we're all kind of judged on that. So obviously everyone's very apprehensive. There are 76 school districts in Terrebonne Parish, excuse me, in Louisiana. Right, yeah. Terrebonne Parish, we are ranked number 12. Wow. Now, some of those that are ahead of us are legitimately ahead of us. Some of them are a little bitty, tiny, sure, tiny. They're not as big as H.L. Bourgeois, the whole district. So right, I don't really count those. You know, I'm kind of saying, well, if you don't count those, we're even higher. We rose dramatically in student performance. And I had people from the State Department calling me, Superintendent, what happened? What did y'all do? I said there was no magic dust. There was no magic curriculum. We had school every day. We were the only district in Louisiana that had school every day, every school, every grade for the whole year. The only one, I didn't know that, the only one in Louisiana. Wow. And the data supports that in-person is the way to go. Oh, sure. Nationwide, it's shown that. And nationwide. And, you know, when we were looking at this year with the hurricane, you know, how do we do that? Because we got to, the high schools, we know we got to piggyback right, some kind of way. And platooning is far from perfect. Sure. But it's in person right, every day. Right. So, you know, we didn't feel we could get away from something we know that works and move to something that we know doesn't work. Right. Or maybe it doesn't work as good. Right. Let me put it that way. So we were very, very pleased that Terrebonne Parish is really at the top of the list as that's great, top performing district in top 10%. Oh, it is, you know, and it's like I said, some of those I tease the superintendent. I said, I got schools bigger than your district. But what a testament to your teachers, your staff that went to work, and the students that showed up, and our community in a very dangerous or scary time. You know, schools are reflections of communities. You know, so it's a team effort. It's not just the teachers. It's not just the kids. Right. It's not just the parents. It's everybody valuing the same thing. And you know, our community values education. Our parents do, and it shows. Right. You know, we have some kids we wish were a little more, perhaps motivated. Right. But schools are a reflection of the community they represent. That's so good to have some good news in a like I say, 2.5 years of kind of rough news to have that. It's been a tough ride. It's been a tough ride. That is great. And you know, look, I know it wasn't easy. I know you had people, I'm sure, that were saying we shouldn't be there, right? You know, I mean, as the world will be right now. But great testament to everybody that showed up for the whole group, right? Well, we're proud of our kids. We certainly are. Yeah, no doubt. Well, Philip Martin, thank you so much for being with us, man. We appreciate it. I know you still got a lot of work ahead of you. We do. So good luck with all of that. Thank you very much. Glad to be here. All right. That'll do it for this edition of Body Time. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.